If I were in the audience when Hannah sang this song, I would have said, "Girl, you better sing." But I'm sure there were some who would have heard this song and they would have been disturbed. Especially those in power, because the tune and the lyrics bespoke of radical transformation. Last week, I heard a powerful lecture from a theomusicologist. That's just a fancy way of saying a theologian who looks for God talk in song. But this theomusicologist talked to us about using songs and singing as a way to testify to the biblical and spiritual imperative to seek and do justice. And in trying to convince us people of faith to let our songs reflect our push for justice, she reminded us that secular artists have been known to address social issues in their songs. And she specifically lifted up Marvin Gaye as an example. Now, some of us remember Marvin Gaye's sexy songs. But one of his most well-known songs is a song called "What's Going On." And it is true that singers of secular music have been far more willing and effective at raising issues of injustice and oppression than our churches. And if you get a chance to, you should look at PBS's American Masters documentary on Marvin Gaye, where the filmmakers recount the making of his song, "What's Going On." In that song, and when you listen to it, and I want you to listen to it, in that song, Marvin Gaye sings the pain and destruction of the Vietnam War and police brutality as both personal and national crisis. And he doesn't get wrapped up in metaphors or lofty poetry. He doesn't clean it up. He doesn't talk about these other ways of looking at it. No, he dares to sing very pointedly, "War is not the answer." Or, "Don't punish me with your brutality." And then he steps into the shoes of mothers saying, mothers, why are you crying? And brother, there are too many of you dying. Now, what many people don't know about this song is how much resistance he encountered in trying to bring this song to production. Many in the Motown hierarchy did not like the idea of Marvin Gaye addressing social issues in his songs. Barry Gorder, the great founder of Motown, is reported to ask him, "Man, why are you trying to ruin your career?" In essence, get back to singing about the sexy stuff. You see, singing about justice, singing about injustice, calling attention to oppression, apparently was not popular, and the powers that be assumed that nobody wanted to hear it. But Marvin Gaye was compelled to sing about the need for justice, and he risked his career to do it. Pastor, why are you talking about Marvin Gaye? Because in our text today, we encounter a biblical heroine who is compelled to sing a song about who God is and what God will do to see that justice is done. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, in this time, women ought not be singing about justice. Oh, you don't hear what I'm talking about. See, y'all, we're comfortable now. We can say whatever we want to say. During the ancient time, like most women of her time, Hannah was an oppressed, marginalized person, subject to patriarchy and domination. She lives in a culture in which a woman's status and identity was based on being married to a man and on how many sons she bore. It wasn't enough just to be married to him. Now you got to have sons for him. And she was part of a family in which a man could have more than one wife. Uh-oh. She wasn't the only one. And her purpose was to produce an heir for her husband. And unfortunately, she could not bear children. And in this society, it wasn't his fault. There was something wrong with her. So she was marginalized. She was considered physically and morally deficient. She was no good to him. And we are told that she was deeply distressed and she prayed and cried to God to bless her with a child, because in her barrenness, she never doubted God. She knew that God was a God of abundance and fruitfulness and new beginnings. So she went to the temple and she prayed and cried and she vowed, if you bless me with a son, I will dedicate him to God. We are told that God remembered Hannah. She and her husband knew each other and she gave birth to a son, Samuel, who will be critical to the fulfillment of God's promise to Israel. But I want us to notice something about what Hannah did in response to God's favor. The writer of the book of Samuel does not report that Hannah celebrates herself or her husband or even her child. We do not hear about a baby shower and a grand festival. We do not hear about her talking about, now I'm worthy because I'm bearing this man a child. No, in response to her being blessed with a child, Hannah sings about justice. Oh, you didn't hear it. Oh, you missed it. All right, let's work it through. She was blessed personally. Everything that she had privately begged God for, she had now received. And her first inclination is not to say, look what I got. Her first inclination is to sing a song about God's justice. Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? She sees everything that has happened to her as an example of God's desire to see justice done. She sings that God is active, willing, and interventionist in making things right for the poor, the weak, for the discounted, for someone like her. If we want to know what justice looks like, let's listen to Hannah sing. Listen to Hannah's tune. Listen to what Hannah is telling us. She sings about a God who's reversing the status and positions of people in an unjust and oppressive world, bringing down the mighty while lifting up the weak, giving food to the hungry while those who have been so full have to go seeking food, blessing the barren with fruitfulness while the one who's fruitful becomes disillusioned and a malcontent. Oh, then she starts telling your money and your weapons and your power will do nothing when God gets to work. Oh, a woman, a discounted person, a marginal figure. When she becomes blessed with a child, she talks about God doing justice. She's talking about social inversion and radical transformation. What does justice look like? According to Hannah's song, justice is God's demonstration that barrenness is not solely a biological or even a spiritual issue. Her despair and her distress is a justice issue. Oh, you don't hear what I'm talking about. Your hunger or our addictions or our despair or our depression is not solely biological or social issues. These are justice issues. Oh, no, let me go further. The bills that you can't pay because of unfairness, because you can't get a living wage, because you can't get health care, those are justice issues. Oh, I'm getting in trouble now. Y'all don't even know how much trouble I'm getting myself into, but I'm going to keep going. You see, Hannah's private deliverance is a public demonstration of God's commitment to doing justice. So now the question is, what is our private deliverance? What does it mean when God blesses us? How do we talk about when God bless us? What do we do with the blessings that we receive? Do we call all our friends and have a party, or do we go out to the public square and say, God provided when I didn't think it was possible? Oh, what we go through are justice issues. This private blessing that Hannah receives has implications for public life. You see, what happened to Hannah reveals that there is no separating the fate of one person from the general welfare of the community. Oh, you didn't hear what I just said. When someone in this community doesn't have enough to eat, then the general welfare of our whole community is suffering. When the police kills an unarmed black person, that doesn't mean that just happened to that unarmed black person. That means that our whole community is suffering. Oh, you don't know it. Hannah was telling us that what happened to me, the blessing that I got, means that our whole community is blessed. So when Thursday's table feeds a bunch of people on Thursday, it doesn't mean that person just got fed. It meant that all God's children just got fed. Entire community. So Hannah is singing not about Hannah's blessing. Hannah is singing about all of the community's blessing. Hannah is singing a song about justice seeking and justice making. Now, here's the question, all God's children. Can we sing this song with Hannah? Oh, that's the question. Can we get in tune with Hannah? Can we sing the song of justice that Hannah is singing? Can we turn our private deliverance into a public song of justice seeking and justice making? Can we sing a song that challenges the powers and the principalities who continue to ignore the common good? Can we sing a song of God's justice in response to the cries of the poor and the hungry and the oppressed? If the words of our mouths to the powers include no prophecy, no advocacy, and no solidarity to the needs and concerns of the most vulnerable, then boy, we're making a lot of noise. Our mouths are moving, but we ain't saying nothing. We're talking a lot, but nothing's getting through if we don't sing the song about justice. And all too often, in the face of hunger, poverty, inequality, and powerlessness, we hear the politicians and the powerful tell us that, oh, we just don't understand the politics and the economics of making sure that people are treated fairly. They tell us we just don't realize that our present arrangements are the only ways that we can see that everybody gets what they need. When the poor and the oppressed ask for our help, we often start analyzing the how, when, what, and why. When what we should do is right there. Just do what's right. Just use our abundance to make sure that people get what they need. And you all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When we say that we have too many children in poverty and too many families with not enough food, we are told we can't respond because the deficit is too high or the programs are wasting money already. So that's what the response we get. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. When we say that families working full time are not receiving a living wage or do not have access to health care, we're told that, oh, there is nothing that the government can do about it. Let the market take care of it. Even when the market was the one that created the problem in the first place. Oh, we know what they tell us. They tell us you can't do anything about racism. You can't do anything about sexism. And if you say something about it, then you're just being politically correct. That's what they tell us. That's what they tell us. But Hannah's song reminds us that we cannot separate ourselves from God's willingness and ability to do justice, to seek justice. So what is the song we're singing? I know we are led to believe that our private victories, our private deliverances are ours alone. That whatever blessing I receive, it's just my blessing. But the psalmist says it very clearly. God is a lover of justice. God is a lover of justice. What is it? I still want to know what you mean by justice, Pastor. God is a lover of making things right for everybody. God is a lover of making things right for everybody. Oh, to know justice is to know God. Oh, to know justice is to know God. It was because Hannah knew justice that the community itself would know God. And that's why she couldn't help but sing it. That's why she didn't waste time holding a baby shower. That's why she didn't run out talking about, oh, I finally did it and I get to keep my husband. No, that's not what she said. She said, I exalt God. I'm singing about God. I'm singing about God the rock who looked upon me, a weak woman, a woman with no power, a person with no status. God looked upon me and made it right. God looked upon me, saw me in my misery and made it right. And because God made it right for me, we ought to make it right for everybody else too. Hannah gives us the tune of the song we should sing. Oh, we ought to sing it loud. We do a lot of singing anyway. And boy, there are some bad songs out there. There's a lot of noise out there. And boy, there's a lot of talk. People come in my office all week. Sometimes they hear me listen to talk radio. And they assume that it's good talk. They come in and say, Pastor, are you on a conference call? No, it's just talk. A lot of noise. But I believe here we have a song to sing about God's justice. The deliverances that I know that we've experienced are songs that we can sing. The overcoming the addiction, the overcoming of the illness, the reconciliation with the family, the reconciliation with a friend, the feeding of a neighbor. Oh, the prayer of a stranger. These are the makings of a song of justice seeking and justice making. And Hannah gives us the tune. Can we sing with her? Amen.